This 2004 Cadillac SRX has a throttle position sensor related errors. Let's fix that today. Hello and welcome to How to Helen, where you learn something different every day. This 2004 Cadillac SRX has a check engine code P2135, which is for the throttle positioning system. That throttle positioning system is integrated with the throttle body system of this vehicle, so we need to replace it as a whole unit. That means we have to replace the throttle body and the throttle body positioning system for this vehicle. Let's start by taking out the whole intake system. Start by removing the vacuum hose on the side of the intake body. Next, loosen the hose clamp here by the throttle body. Then for the air box, there's two 10mm bolts that's holding it in place. So use a 10mm socket and a wrench to remove them. To remove the wiring harness on the mass airflow sensor, just press on the back of the tab, then pull away from the sensor. Now move the upper vacuum hose out of the way and pull the whole unit out. Comparing the throttle body to the new throttle body, we can see that there's four 10mm bolts holding it in place. So use a 10mm socket and wrench to remove it. Alright, now that the throttle body's out, just pull out the pigtail or the wiring harness to release it. Here's a side-by-side comparison of the old throttle body and the new throttle body. And as you can see, the throttle body position system is built in, so you can't really replace just the TPS. You have to replace it as a whole. So now let's put in the new throttle body. Start by reinserting the wiring harness. Now I don't know why they put the gasket in front, but this gasket has to be at the back of the throttle body. Make sure that the gasket is seated in its proper position, then reinstall the throttle body. Now put back the whole air intake system. Just slide it back in its position. Next, tighten the hose clamp by the throttle body. Don't forget the two 10mm bolts by the airbox. Now connect the wire for the mass airflow sensor. So same errors, let's erase that today. And that is how to replace the throttle body and the throttle body position system for this 2004 Cadillac SRX. This has been another episode of How to Helen. My name's RJeff and thank you for watching. Hello and welcome to How to Helen, where you learn something different every day. In this episode, this 2004 Cadillac SRX is experiencing We'll start by taking out the center throttle intake. Let's start by taking out the center throttle intake. Make sure that the gasket is seated in its position. Now let's reinstall the throttle. Make sure that the gasket is seated. Make sure that the gasket is seated. Comparing the throttle body to the new throttle body, you can see that there's four 10mm bolts holding it in. Here's a side-by-side comparison of the old throttle body. So now let's reinstall the new throttle body. Start by inserting the wire. Make sure that the gasket is seated in its position. Now let's reinstall the throttle. Make sure that the gasket is seated. Make sure that the gasket is seated. Next, tighten the hose clamp. Next, tighten the hose clamp by the Next, tighten the hose clamp by the mass airflow sensor.